Alright, welcome back. Part 3 of converting the FMS Avanti 18th Anniversary Edition to turbine using the top design kit from RC Castle. This will be a continuation from Part 2. And at Part 2 we built up these stacks, so we could mount the Zycoi engine on. I think what I'll do is I'll break down what drill sizes I used and how I made these, because it might help you when you're designing yours, to help you get it in the alignment and everything right. So first of all, the wood that they used, this is (7/64). All right. So I'm going to use, I have some 3/32, and it's basically, it's right on the verge, 7/64, so it's close enough, right? It's going to be close enough. So on these build-ups here, take it apart. So these holes, these offset holes, I drilled with I drilled it with a 1/8 inch bit. A 1/8 inch bit here for these offset holes. And that's just a little bit larger than the M3 screws that I'm using, so that way it gave just a little bit of wiggle room in case you needed it to get those curved pieces, these pieces here, right, to sit flush against the wall. Right, just gave you just a little bit of wiggle room there. Okay, and these holes here, I drilled with the same 1/8 inch bit, right? So it's just ever so slightly oversized. Again, just one, so you get just a little bit more play in there, just to help you get things aligned real easily. Now these were, like I said, these were just exact copies of the pieces here. The original mounting ones, right? But all I did was I left this width here wider here, so we had a space for the turbine flange to mount on. Now, this original piece, it is 25/32 wide, okay? The piece that I made, 55/64. Let's do it in millimeters. It's actually a little bit easier. So just about 22 millimeters. Just about 22 millimeters wide. And the original one was almost 20 millimeters wide. Okay? So 22. Yeah, almost 22 millimeters wide. Okay. Now when you're making these here, and you got your stack pieces that are going to go underneath, just make sure, do not use the same bit that you drilled your offset holes into here, or you're not going to be able to get your screws to stay. So like I said, I drilled those with an 1/8. These holes here I drilled with a what is it, 1/16? Yeah. I drilled the little hole, the offset holes here with the 1/16 inch bit, right? And then I'm using M3 screws into them. Now once you've drilled these holes, go ahead, screw your screws in, make the threads, take your screws back out, drop some thin CA down these holes, right? Because you don't want your screws pulling out of the wood. Now you could also bolt it in if you want. I'm just going to use the wood screws. So just drop the thin CA down in there. That's going to give it a little bit more bite for those screws to avoid you from trying to like strip them out. Okay. Then let me reassemble this. So I used like I said, I was using M3 screws with an M3 washer. All right. I'll show you just how much play it has. So it gives you just a little bit of wiggle room. So you can see it's just got a little bit of play in it. All right, just a little bit. Just to make sure we can get those curved pieces flat against the wall. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that a little bit loose right now. All right, put the curved pieces on. Okay. Of course. I'm not going to tighten them, I'm going to leave them loose. Now you can see just a little bit of play in that too. Right? Just a little bit of wiggle room so that we can get these curved pieces right here, push them flat up against the wall, right? So get them set, hold it tight up against the wall, tighten your screws, don't over tighten. There. Now this is nice and tight up against the wall. So now you can mark it, rough it out, and go ahead and glue those in place if you want to at that step. I'm not going to do it right now, I'll do it later. Let me get the other side in. Again, not going to tighten them, I'm going to leave them loose. Alright, now I'm going to push this up against the wall, hold it, now I'll tighten everything down. Alright, so there. Nice and snug against the wall. Nice and snug against the wall. Like I said, now you could actually rough that out, mark it, get in there with the pen, mark it on each side, rough out that area, and glue those in place. I'm not going to do it now, I'll do it later. I'm just showing you what I would do. Okay, now with everything set, right, as I mentioned before, the X45 now is not going to sit like this. It's not going to be, the K45 will sit on top. I'm assuming now, like I said, I don't know, I don't have a K45, but just from the parts provided, it looks like the K45 is going to mount on the top. Now the X45 can't. It has to mount from underneath. So this is actually going to sit underneath these plates. But what I would do is, at this point, I would get your tube, set your tube where you think your tube's going to want to be. Now I'm going to have my tube sitting about 2 millimeters sticking out the end. I don't want it flush with the end. I'm going to have it about 2 millimeters, right? Just so that the pipe's sticking out just enough that the heat generated doesn't come up and start melting the foam. So 2 millimeters should give me enough clearance where I don't have to worry about anything melting. So that's about right there. And then I would center your pipe. Get your pipe centered where it needs to be. I'm going to use a laser alignment, so I'm not going to show it here, but I'm going to laser align everything. So once you have this centered where you want, go ahead and drill it and screw it down, set it in position. Then keep the Zycoi on top for now, right? Move the Zycoi to where you want it. Usually it's about 1 inch from the beginning of, not 1 inch from here, but 1 inch from the beginning of the pipe to the end of the nozzle. So you want 1 inch. So that's a little too close. So it would have to be like somewhere right in there. That would be, yeah, that's about 1 inch right there, right? And then of course, you want to center it, get it all centered, and once you have it, go ahead and drill your holes. So now you have your turbine where it's actually going to sit. Then you can take your plates out and mount the turbine to the bottom of the plates. And that way now the turbine's fixed to the plates. At the same time, you can go ahead and glue those in if you wanted to. And then that should be everything done. Turbine, thrust tube, everything should be aligned with the center, and now the power plant section's done. Now the last thing you're going to have to do then is, where's the cover? You're going to have to hog out some foam here, right? Because these plates here, they only got the cutouts here for the ears that was on the EDF right here. So you're going to have to, trim the foam out so that this can come in and actually sit flat. See, it's got a long way to go from sitting flat. Yeah, I got a long way to go. So, it might help if I put it on the right way. There we go. So that's not so bad now. So yeah, it looks like you got about 3 millimeters. You need to shave on that foam to get this thing to sit. And the hang-up actually looks like it's the hang-up on it actually looks like it's the top of the thrust plate here. So it looks like this area right here is really all you really need to hog out. Yeah. Let's see what kind of indentation we're getting here. Can't really see, but that's what it looks like. It looks like this is actually what's stopping it from going down all the way. It's close, like I said, about 2-3 millimeters. So after you do that, power plant should be done. Then we can go to the next step. So next video coming.